Umpire Mag feed, and I can't wait to go across the pond to listen to Across the Pod, fresh out of Wales. Special stuff. Cheers.
Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, in Team Season Preview 29 out of 32, I was joined by Tennessee Titans fan Greg Kett as we look ahead to the team's upcoming season. Greg discusses the team's off-season as a whole.
Outside of that, look, the business we've done, I think we've very much covered what we need to. Our secondary was appalling last year.
I asked Greg about the addition of Rob Saleh as head coach.
Where I thought really the defense always looked great under him. The pick of quarterbacks didn't help things.
And much more as Greg predicts the end of season record in our win, loss or tie segment. Hope you all enjoy.
I absolutely love the move for Brian Daboll, for Cam Ward as well.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am as ever your host today, Andy Davis, and we are here for Team Season Preview 29 out of 32. We are so close towards the end now. We are getting there. We are finally once again achieving the goal of doing a season preview episode with a fan of every team. Now, as you can see from the title, our team in focus today is the Tennessee Titans. And before I introduce our guest, this podcast is sponsored by Fantasy Game Day app. Use code Andy5 at checkout for money back off your first pay lineup. Now, returning guest, he is our resident Titans fan. Back on the show today is Greg Kett. Greg, it's great to have you back on.
Oh, thanks for having me, Andy. It's always a fun bit of delusional episode where everything's great and we talk about how we're going to go and become one of the better teams and make the playoffs. But no, I think last time I was on this podcast, I'm pretty sure I predicted us to go win 4 games, which was the least of everyone that you'd met. So I'll try and be a bit more positive this time.
Well, a spoiler alert for those who are listening who haven't yet listened to the Dolphins podcast. We also finished with 4 wins on that show. So that is so far, at time of recording, the most least optimistic fan of the whole thing. It involves me. So there goes my feelings on the season. But no, it's I'm just trying to get up now. Just loading up currently your win total from last year. I'm just going to quickly get that up. So let's have a look at the Titans. So, sorry, to listeners, I apologise for this. We normally do it at the end, but as Greg mentioned, it is a good chance to go through it now. So in real life, in 2025, the Titans went 3-14. Now, if I get up, I normally have this up in advance. I don't know why I've decided this one to not have it ready. But have a look. So last year, if I get this up now, you are near. So yeah, you predicted 5-12. So you were only 1 win off. So you weren't too far away from getting it right.
Yeah, it was a tough season to watch last year. There was, we've had tough seasons in the last probably 3 years, to be honest with you. But last year was incredibly tough to watch at times, and even the wins that we had, there were some pretty unconvincing games in there. So playing the Cardinals early in the season, winning with a last-second field goal with some just ridiculous plays in the middle of that game, including the touchdown, if you remember, the Tyler Lockett touchdown, which was intercepted, then fumbled, and then into the end zone for him to score. It was just one of those crazy games. But I think whilst we went through a period of transition last year, we had Brian Callahan as our head coach. It didn't work out with Callahan, which was a real shame. He came across as a really good guy and an offensive mind, which is something that we've not really had at the Titans for quite a long time. All of our head coaches generally are defensive guys, and we were really excited when he first came in, but it didn't work out. They fired him after, I think it was week 6, I think against the Raiders. I was at that game, funny enough. And it was just, and then after that, it was just a case of all we wanted to see was good things from our rookie quarterback. And whilst the record didn't look good, as the season progressed, we did see more and more from Cam, and it was just unfortunate that what he had around him wasn't able to convert into winning games, which is a shame. But frustrating season, but a lot of positives in the quarterback position, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Absolutely. And for those audio listeners who maybe aren't watching this on YouTube, Greg, you're wearing one of the new jerseys. Obviously, that's been one of the big features this summer of the off season was your new logo as well, and also new jerseys. What are your thoughts on the new jerseys?
I mean, I like them. I like them a lot. I think they look really, really good. I think they've gone back to the kind of Oilers-esque colours and the kind of Love You Blue era a little bit. But they've put some identity around it, and the identity really is very, very Nashville. There's elements to it where the kind of Music City elements kind of come into it, and as a jersey, as a standalone jersey, it's a thing of beauty. I'll be honest, it doesn't feel Titans as I supported the Titans as the Titans. I wasn't an Oilers fan. And the Titans for me has an old identity that I feel like we've moved away from massively. Things evolve. I don't mind that so much. But it's something that I look at and I bought the blue jersey as well as the white one I'm wearing now. And I just looked at it thinking, and they're going to look great on the field. I have absolutely no doubt. We've gone back to the white helmet, which I've missed for a long time. I couldn't stand the navy, ironically, the one I've got over my shoulder, the navy with the kind of sword in sort of stripe along the top. Wasn't a big fan of that. But I think it's a new identity. We've got a new stadium coming next season. They are trying to move the Titans into being a bit more of a bigger market team. They want the Titans to be talked about. They want the Titans to become something in this league. And I think this is just the next step really for ownership see this franchise being. And that all comes, ultimately it stems on the field. Performances is the most important thing. If you can start winning football matches, it becomes a lot easier to get people behind you and take that identity into the future.
Yeah, I mean the future does. This will be the last season at Nissan Stadium, if I'm right in saying that.
Yeah.
And then of course the new stadium will be the one that hosts the Super Bowl 65. Is it 65? In 2030.
30, yeah, whichever one it is.
That's going to be great for the city.
Yeah, I mean the city's been ready for it for a while. It's the new stadium looks incredible. Obviously, it's an inside dome stadium, which I was on the fence on a little bit, but as it's developed over time, I think it's going to be something else. It's a little bit smaller than most stadiums in the league, but they have kind of built it for the purpose of no matter where you are sitting in that stadium, they want the person to have the best views possible. If anyone's sat up in the gods in the current Nissan Stadium, it's not a great fan experience. You feel so far away from the action. They've brought that all in and they've taken out, I think, 9,000 seats. It only holds just, 60 or just over 60,000, which is on the smaller side for an NFL stadium. But they've really thought about the fan experience from what I understand. And I can't wait to get there for week 1 next year or week 2, depending on when we're at home. Can't wait to see it for the first time.
I mean, I will say I've been in the gods in Nissan. I had a great experience. I could see the whole Nashville skyline. I could see all the skyscrapers. I loved it. I think Nissan is a really underrated stadium. But I was up in the gods and I had a good time. So yeah, we'll
you always have a good time in Nashville, but it's more the like watching a game from up, and I've done it myself. Watching a game from up there, you feel very, very away from the action. And I think the idea behind this stadium is every seat in the house is supposed to be as good, like regardless of whether you're in the lower bowl, in the uppers, whatever it might be, it's supposed to be unrivaled in that regard. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But they've added a lot of local feel to it as well from some of the videos I've seen. They want it to feel very uniquely Nashville, which is a city that's grown so much from the first time I went 15 years ago, whenever it was. It's a completely different place to what it is now, but they still have the same kind of heart of what Nashville's always been, and that's a lot of that is music, and a lot of that is having a very specific identity, which I think they really wanted to bring into the stadium, which is cool. I'd rather that than a soulless stadium that you see a lot of, certainly in this country, and there's a lot of stadiums even in the US that feel just like always feel the same. Luckily, I feel like this is different.
Yeah, and I've seen the Bill Stadium today, and I think they can learn a lot from that, and how not to build a stadium with all the stuff that's going on at the moment with the glass covering people's views.
I've seen this, yeah.
Stadium where you can't see half the field. The scoreboard seems incredibly small. And yeah, I think certainly a lot. I think they'll fix that eventually. I think, but yeah, right now it's not good luck, and I think they need to be careful. Whichever team, there's quite a few moving stadiums the next few years. The Browns, the Commanders, the South, the Bills obviously have done it this year. They need to be careful not to ruin the move. So I think, yeah, it looks good. It looks quite unique compared to terms from the outside. It looks quite unique compared to the rest. So yeah, I think it's good for Nashville. It's growing. I think the way countries kind of taken off in the US, but also mainly outside the US, a lot more tourism. I've seen more people from my school go to Nashville the last 2 years than I thought ever before in the previous 28 years of my life. I think people just seem. I think people sometimes they hear one song of Luke Combs and they think they're country, so they'll go to Nashville for a hen do. But no, fair play. It's growing a lot, and I think it is a perfect place to host a Super Bowl. We think about the kind of party atmosphere you have around the Super Bowl. And I can just see that long strip. We got Luke Bryan's bar. You've got that whole strip of bars and live music. That's going to be incredible. That's going to be amazing for Super Bowl week. And I think it's I think I think it goes for me LA, then New Orleans, and then Nashville might be down there as like one of the best cities to host a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
so carnival atmosphere, and yeah, for me, it's absolutely should be. A good experience for those.
The draft there in I think it's 2018 when the draft was there. It was almost like a dress rehearsal for what was to come. I think they wanted to show that Nashville could cope with an event like that, and that was amazing. I wasn't there for it, but I've had friends of mine who were, and they absolutely loved it and did an amazing job with it. So yeah, it's an exciting time for everyone in and around Nashville, and hopefully the Titans can be a team that can be competing for a Super Bowl at some point, because I think it's having a home Super Bowl. There's not many teams that have done that. It would be amazing to do that.
Yeah, I mean that is one of my favorite drafts. It might be my favorite draft of all time. I love some of the kind of coverage. I thought it was amazing. We'll move on now to the players that will be part of Tennessee and Nashville in 2027. The ins and outs of the Titans offseason. So some of the ins include the likes of Daniel Bellinger, Mitchell Trubisky, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kylan Granson, Michael Carter, KJ Osborne. A name I completely forgot, Hendon Hooker. I completely forgot he existed. John Franklin Myers has come in, Jacob Martin, Jordan Elliott, Tony Adams via the Jets, Alontae Taylor. And also the team traded for the likes of Jermaine Johnson with the Jets in exchange for Javondre Sweat, and Solomon Thomas also came in via Dallas. And then in the draft, you took Carnell Tate, 4th overall, wide receiver from Ohio State. Also, the first round, you took Keldrick Folk, the end out of Auburn, via the Patriots, which came via the Bills. Took Anthony Hill Jr. in the second round, Fernando Carmona in the fifth, as well as Nicholas Singleton. And then in the 6th round, you took Jackie Marshall and Pat Coogan. And in the 7th round, you took Jaron Kanak. And then in terms of the out Tennessee as well, so the team saw the likes of Brandon Allen, Van Jefferson, Chig Okonkwo, Kevin Zeitler, Lloyd Cushenberry, Arden Key, Sebastian Joseph Day, Jalyn Armour-Davis, L'Jarius Sneed, and Xavier Woods and Johnny Hecker all depart the franchise. Greg, for you overall, what was your take on your team's offseason as a whole?
I think, look, I mean, when you go off the back of a 3-14 season, you're always going to see a lot of roster churn and changes. There was no one that left that I was heartbroken to see go. There were players like Chig Okonkwo who obviously be drafted and was always a handy player to have. It was probably one of the best receiving threats we had last year, coming out as obviously as a tight end. So it was a bit of a shame to see him go, but I understood the decision. I think money-wise, it made sense. Gunnar Helman, who is now coming into his second year, had a good rookie year, looks a hell of a talent. I think he would have just stepped in the way of Helm if he'd stayed. And I think, look, business-wise, I really love what we did in the draft. I think I wasn't expecting Carnell Tate, if I'm honest. There was a lot of talk around Jeremiah Love on draft night. Obviously, he got taken the pick before. I felt like a defensive player, an edge rusher, was probably most likely at that point. Certainly wasn't expecting Carnell Tate at 4. But what I've seen of him so far in camp and rookie minicamp has been really, really promising. And the Titans have for a long time struggled to have an elite wide receiver. Obviously, bar AJ Brown, who obviously ended up only sort of lasting a few years before moving on. I feel like we need that kind of guy, someone who doesn't drop the ball and just comes out with everything. That elite guy, and I think he's got those traits. And I think what he's showing so far is certainly he's moving in the right direction to become that player, which for me is really exciting, because as a young receiver who, he at Ohio State they obviously have Jeremiah Smith, who's an unbelievable talent, and he was kind of second fiddle to him for the whole of last season, which was another reason why I think there was some surprise a little bit that he was taken at 4. He was always going to be a first round talent, but taken that high was surprising. But he seems to be living up to that name right now. And obviously it's early days. We've not even seen a preseason game yet, but there's a lot of excitement around what Carnell Tate could bring based on the small samples we've seen in training camp so far. Kendrick Folk, I think, is a development piece. He's a young guy. I think he's only just turned 21, or he's certainly 21 years old. I think they know that we had a pick last year, also an edge rusher who unfortunately picked up an injury or two, and he was someone who we had a similar situation with. So Femi Oladejo was someone who really kind of came in for his upside rather than coming in to be that starting guy from week 1. And I think Folk will be the same. I don't think he'll necessarily come in and be that splashy edge rusher that you're going to immediately get production from, but 2-3 years from now, he'll be an unbelievable talent, I've no doubt. Really like the Anthony Hill Jr. pick as linebacker. Again, is a position we've struggled in a little bit at times. And then the rest, I think, there's the offensive line is my biggest worry about this team even now. And we did pick up a few young guys in Carmona and Coogan. I don't expect to see much of Coogan. Carmona, I think, is very likely that could even start at guard this year. I think he's currently in the unofficial depth chart as a backup, but I think that's just because he's a rookie. I have no doubt that he could step into that position. And then also quite a lot of excitement around Nicholas Singleton, who's as a running back, sort of behind, was at Penn State, obviously behind Jeremiah Love, but a player who in camp so far has looked pretty good. And running back is a position that, we've got Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard kind of carrying a lot of the weight. It'd be nice to have a guy as a third running back who can come in and do not just sort of special teams, but also come in and contribute. So really like the draft picks. Outside of that, look, the business we've done, I think we've very much covered what we need to. Our secondary was appalling last year, and we've gone and picked up some experienced guys there. As a Tennessee Volunteers fan, I was really happy with the Taylor pickup. I think he's a really, really good player. Had a bit of up and down time with the Saints, but he's good. Cordell Flott, I don't know too much about. I can't say I watch a lot of Giants games, but an experienced head that can come in and hopefully do a good job, because it's been an area that we've really struggled in. And then really I would say a wide receiver I was mentioning earlier about obviously Carnell Tate, but even outside of that, last year, what we saw with Chim DK, what we saw with Elik Ayamana as 2 rookies in the league, it's really exciting. And I think it's funny that we've got probably one of our strongest position groups is now wide receiver, bringing in Wan'Dale Robinson as a slot guy. Calvin Ridley was our number 1 guy last year, and he's probably a third choice wide receiver because of everyone else who's kind of moving in ahead of him. And that's a good place to be for us, because, as I said, it's not a position we've ever always been blessed with. So really excited about some of the business. But I think the main bit of business I was happy with the most is actually the signing Jeffrey Simmons to a new contract. Unbelievable, best defensive tackle in the league for me. There's no question about that. And then also Peter Skoronski, one of our left guards, who has been unbelievable since we drafted him. So tying those guys down to long-term deals and giving them their payday is a good thing for us as well, because you need those kind of players to take you through this year isn't going to be realistically us having a winning season and going to the playoffs, but they're there for when it matters in the next 2 years, because we're getting closer to being competitive, which sounds depressing to say to a certain extent, but also it's a much better place than we were 12 months ago.
Yeah, I think offensive line is so key to get the guys that you need retained, and your best players as well, like Jeffrey Simmons, is always a good thing. You mentioned preseason. Now, by the time this podcast is released, your first preseason game would be done, and you are taking on the 49ers, which is a good segue because, of course, one of your main ins, which wasn't players, was Robert Saleh, your new head coach, who comes from the 49ers, who you play, of course, in that first preseason game. So it'd be an interesting first game for him as a head coach, albeit in preseason. Comes in for a second spell as a head coach. His first spell was with the Jets, where he spent a few years, where I thought really the defense always looked great under him. It was always, I think, just the pick of quarterbacks, whether it's drafting Zach Wilson, whether it's Aaron Rodgers going down 4 plays in, didn't help things. But I think we've all seen from many people, whether it's player or coach, I don't think you can judge them as a talent by their time at the Jets. That seems to be a bit of a cursed franchise. So, yeah, interesting to see how he'll do. But as a Titans fan for you, Greg, I mean, your take on the hire?
Yeah, I like it. I think he's, you're right, he was kind of dealt a bit of a bad card in New York. And I think he's one of those, we had success with Mike Vrabel, who was a character guy. And I think he's of that similar ilk. I don't think he's quite the same in terms of probably wanting as much control as Vrabel, but he's someone who's going to come in and get that, the entire team, but the defense especially, will want to play for him. And we didn't have that with Brian Callahan. I felt like with Brian Callahan it was a very, very different kind of relationship. There wasn't enough belief in the players that he was going to be the guy to get us through games. And I think with Saleh in particular, it's been a good move. I absolutely love the move for Brian Daboll, for Cam Ward as well. I think if you've seen what he's done previously with Josh Allen, and there's no doubt he's a very, very good offensive mind. Again, head coach of the Giants, which obviously didn't work out for him. But even if it is a one year stint with us before he goes and gets another head coaching job, which probably likely if this team performs well offensively, I don't mind that. I think it's good to have those guys that can kind of come in and hopefully develop your young quarterback and your young receiving core as well as he hopefully will. So I really love what we've done with the staff. I think when obviously there was a lot of names being bounded about before we ended up settling for Saleh, there was a lot of talk about what Jim Harbaugh was going to do. There was a lot of talk about several other names. I feel like this is a good fit. I feel like he is someone who can come in, build that foundation. There's already talent in this roster, certainly a younger talent in this roster, no doubt about that. It's about taking that now, elevating that to the next level alongside those key vets who are going to help us sort of raise the level. And we went through this probably 10, 12 years ago when the Titans sort of drafted Marcus Mariota, and there were players who in that team, if thinking of the likes of Delaney Walker, for example, who was unbelievable for the Titans, but an experienced vet head who came in and took that team from being a bit of a joke to competing. And whilst we didn't go all the way, we were still in playoffs. We were still winning divisions. We were doing a lot more than we have done, certainly in the last few years. So yeah, look, I'm really excited for it. It feels fresh. It feels new. I'm really happy we kept John Fassel as our special teams coordinator. He was excellent last year. So I feel like it's been a step in the right direction. We know this roster is still a little bit away from competing, but the steps are being taken in the right place, which is a nice place to be in at the moment, because can't do much more doom and gloom as I have done for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a testing few years. I think pretty much since the moment that you traded away AJ Brown on draft night, I think ever since then, I don't think you've quite recovered as a franchise so far, but you're looking towards the future. We mentioned the New Jerseys. We'll mention Cam Ward in a second, and I think Salah. I think, like I said before, I don't think you should judge his time with the Jets because I do think he showed signs of being a good head coach. He just had a bad quarterback situation every single year, and it's not really improved since he left the Jets either. So interesting to see how he'll do. Very likable guy. So someone you want to do well. I think he's not someone I don't think anyone looks at and wishes he has a bad time. I think he did everything the right way in the Jets, apart from maybe some of his coaching. But at the same time, new team, fresh voice, new surroundings. It might be the making of him.
I think he would have learned a lot from that first spell as head coach as well. I think it's always daunting first time you become a head coach, and especially if it doesn't go well. So he would have learned a lot, and I don't think he'll make the same mistakes that he probably made in those times. So it's good. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt he'll be signing Zach Wilson anytime soon. Titans as a bit of backup. I don't think that'll be someone he'll go for. Speaking of that, quarterbacks, Cam Ward, rookie year last year, and I'm sure you'd have seen the quarterback documentary on Netflix. Comes into a second year after a difficult first year. Joint most sacked quarterback in the league last year, 55 times, joint with Geno Smith, who you do play in week 1 this season. But I think with all the problems, 3 wins, 55 sacks, all that stuff, he did show what he can do. He showed his talent. Now, remember there was a play early on in the year where I can't think whether either he threw across his body or evaded a sack. But I remember there was a play early on where he just...
His first touchdown when he against the Rams.
I can't remember who it was, but I remember there was a play where he just did some magic. And I can't think whether he evaded a sack, whether he threw across his body, or whether he just... I can't think what it was. I remember there was a play early on in the year I got wowed by. And he did show his talent, and I think we all saw from the documentary the kind of leader he is, the kind of competitor he is, whether it's on the field, whether it's playing pool with his friends. The guy is a clear leader, talking about, I think, one of the games they won, he said, that should be the norm for us. We should be expected to win games. We shouldn't be celebrating this. And I think he even tore into the defense because they almost let the game slip them by. So for you, Greg, as a Titans fan, going into a second year as the Titans quarterback, your thoughts on Cam Ward?
Yeah, I think there were some moments last season that were not good. But let's face it, when you're refereeing 14 teams, you're going to have those moments. But it was the progression that we saw over the year, I think, that was the pleasing part. And you're right, there was a lot of sacks. The offensive line was a massive issue last year. It is my biggest worry for the team this year is I don't think they've strengthened that area enough. Outside of Peter Skoronski, who for me is an unbelievable player. We haven't seen enough from JC Latham as a first round pick yet at tackle. He's been moved around from left to right. Dan Moore from Pittsburgh, who's come in, has got a pretty big contract, but it's not really that good. So getting hopefully an offensive system that works to get Cam in the best position to show those wow moments, and because we've seen him a lot. Like, we know that he's capable of those moments consistently, and he showed that in a number of games last year, whether it's doing things he probably shouldn't do but has faith in himself to do, like throwing across his body or throwing across the field, rather than maybe doing some of the smarter stuff that he probably should be. But he does it because he has a belief in himself, and it comes from having probably a chip on his shoulder. Like, he was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. He had to kind of work his way in college to becoming the player he became, to eventually get picked number 1 overall. And he's always been doubted in his career. And I think coming to Tennessee, in a team that is still, still going for a rebuild, I think he just thrives off of that doubt. He thrives off of people not thinking he's good enough, and his mentality is the best part about Cam Ward. And you saw that in that documentary, because nothing is good enough. whether he's playing dodgeball with a load of kids or whether he's on a field on a Sunday. Like, he wants to win, and that's, for me, that's the person you want to get behind. And Jeffrey Simmons has made comments in recent times about about his leadership, because I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is probably the biggest leader we have on our team, but I think he's behind Cam Ward 100%, because he believes that, you know, as a leader, he's probably the best out there. He has no doubt got the talent. Hopefully we can fix the parts around him to give him the best chance of succeeding, because it's the most excited I've been about a Titans quarterback in a long, long time. And that includes when we had Marcus, who was a number 2 pick overall. He for me, he has that mentality as well as the talent. I think there's parts of his game that isn't perfect, but if you can get the support around him and give him time in the pocket rather than what he was doing last year, was running for his life way too much. There's no doubt for me that he could go and take us on a run. We've had quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill, who was excellent for us, in all honesty, but we had everything else built around him. A good running game, we had a good offensive line. Just need to build that now for Cam, and then we'll just watch him fly, because I think he could be something special, as long as he doesn't get ruined along the way, which is kind of what happened with Marcus. Marcus kind of got ruined along the way, and which is why it didn't really work out. With Cam, I'm hoping we learn from those mistakes and we can put him in the best position to succeed.
Absolutely, and there's a reason why he was first overall pick in the draft. But we'll move on to our final segment, which is win, lose or tie. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this segment of the show, every fan that comes on predicts their team's overall end-of-season record by going through each game and answering with a win, loss or tie answer. Now, we've already gone through what you predicted last year, and I know you go to a lot of Titans games, so I'm looking forward to hearing throughout this segment which games you are going to this year, if any. I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got coming up adventure-wise this season, you and your other half. I mentioned it before, your week 1 game is against Geno Smith and the Jets in Nissan Stadium. Greg, win, lose or tie?
I think we'll get off to a win. This is a game I'm going to be at. I don't like really what the Jets have done. I don't think Geno is the answer. I think we're fortunate we're probably playing them early in the season when they probably think he is the answer. So I think we'll win that. I actually think we could win it comfortably, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I said before on the show, I believe potentially 2 of the 3 worst teams this season are going to be in the AFC East, and I think that will be. I think they'll be really bad this year. I don't think, like you say, I don't think Gino's the answer. He wasn't the answer last year. Has been the answer in 1 year of his whole career. So yeah, no, I don't have any faith in Jets. But week 2, you're sticking at home and you're taking on the Eagles.
Yeah, going to be at this one as well. I think we'll lose this game. I think the Eagles, I think their defense will be too much for us. I think it'll be a close game, but I don't expect we'll win in week 2. I think we'll go into week 3 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't follow Greg on socials, it is a good watch. It's a good account, because he's always off somewhere. He's always I think you were at a Nashville Predators game recently, or you went.
I'm a Vegas Golden Knights fan, so I was there for the playoffs in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, so you weren't there for the Stanley Cup, were you?
I was there. I was there for the final. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I remember that was an amazing series. Remember that with the Golden Knights and the Hurricanes. Also, you were at like an insane game. I think you were at the best game of the lot, right? I remember the game you were at was an absolute thriller.
Yeah, it was. If it's the overtime game, I think you're probably referring to. So yeah, we went. I say I'm a Golden Knights fan, so we went kind of in a 3-goal lead, and then it all kind of capitulated. But we won it in overtime. So yeah, I saw one win, 1 loss. I was there for 2 games of the final.
Love it.
But yeah, unfortunately couldn't stay for the rest, which worked out okay in the end. But I missed it. I missed it in 2023. I wanted to go in 2023 when they won the Stanley Cup. So I was like, no, this time I've got to go. And I was actually there literally like 4 weeks before for an earlier part of the playoffs as well. So yeah, get over to the US for a fair amount for different games. But yeah, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, a part of me does regret not going to either year of the Oilers Stanley Cups. But no, it's definitely on the bucket list. If ever they come back and get into the Stanley Cup again, I can't. I feel like I can't for a third time not do it. So
the Western's so open. It wouldn't surprise me if they were there or thereabouts anyway. So you might have your chance next year.
I mean, last year disappointing. I thought we would go a lot further than we did. I think last year was really disappointing, and I think there was some really good comeback wins. There was a week where we had this amazing comeback win. Conor McDavid said he wanted to be an Oiler for life. I kind of felt like destiny, but then ultimately that never happened. But fingers crossed next year we can do it. But I've learned in my 8 years? No, what's that? 7 years being a fan of the Oilers. I've learned not to be too optimistic because it's like in any sport, the hope that kills you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, week 3 is New York again, but this time the Giants, and this time on the road.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really tough game. I did really fancy us winning this, but I put us down as a loss. I think this will be a really close game. I'll probably end up changing my mind after I see the Giants for the first 2 weeks, but I feel like there'll be the Harbaugh factor will be very much alive and well. So I've put us to lose this game.
Well, week 4, you're staying on the road, and a game against a team that you played in London a few years ago. You're taking on the Ravens.
Yeah, I think the Ravens for me are probably one of the best sides in the AFC. I know they don't seem to ever quite get there in recent years since sort of Lamar's come in to make it all the way. But I think this year they're well set to compete. We'll lose this game. I don't think we'll come away with a victory there at all.
No, I agree. Well, week 5, a team that is playing in London this year, the Houston Texans, but at home.
So I've got us to win this one. I think we'll split the series against the Texans. My only caveat is if the offensive line looks as bad as I'm hoping it won't be, then it might change because their defense is something else. But I think we'll split the series against the Texans. So I've got us to win that.
So then week 6, another team playing in London this year. Are you on the road to the Colts?
Yeah, I think we'll split that as well. So I think we'll lose this one away and then beat them at home later in the season. But the Colts are not particularly one I'm that worried about this year. I feel like they've got some good pieces. They've got some good players, but I'm not expecting them to go and to light up.
I said this in one of the previous episodes. I just don't. To me, I'm sort of planning in my head the season predictions episode we're doing, where you predict all the divisions, who wins the Super Bowl, etc., etc. I'm finding the Colts the hardest one to call. I just don't know what we're going to get from the Colts. Whether we're going to get the team that played like they did before Jones got injured, and then we got the Colts that played after they won in Germany and didn't win a game the rest of the year. So I really don't know what we're going to get from the Colts. I'm finding them the hardest one to call. I just don't know what we're going to get out of the Colts. And this will
I don't know how much you can trust Danny Dimes either. That's my issue. Like it's one of those. He's one of those quarterbacks that he's had some nice runs in his career, which has prolonged his career. To be honest with you, but he's one of those quarterbacks that just can't really trust. I wouldn't trust if I was a Colts fan. But I think they've got some good pieces. Like they've got a very good running back. I really like Tyler Warren at tight end. I think the receivers they've got are good. I think they'll miss Pittman though. I think Pittman is going to be a big loss for them. He's been very reliable for years when he's been available. He's had injury problems, I know. So yeah, it's a very interesting one. I wish I had their offensive line, but outside of that, not really fussed about the Colts.
No, I mean Jones' best 2 years have both come on contract year, so that should be maybe a concern in itself.
Says it all.
Yeah. Week 7 is a home game. This time taking on the Browns.
Yeah, I think we'll beat the Browns. I kind of fear for the Browns this year. I think obviously with the Garrett trade, I think they've got some good young players on offense. I like some of the business they've done in the drafts in the last couple of years. Their quarterback situation, though, is to be honest with you, it's a joke. So I think we'll beat the Browns comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the worst quarterback room in the NFL right now. The one that is a good quarterback room is the Bengals, who you play in Week 8 on the road.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tough game. I I quite fancy. I think we're at home. I probably fancy us more, but on the road, I think we'll lose that.
So then you've got a bye week in week 9. So week 10, an AFC South battle is you host the Jaguars.
Yeah, I've got a split. Funny enough, split in this one as well. So I think we'll beat them in Jacksonville. So we'll lose this one in week 10.
So then week 11 is a road game in Dallas against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think Dallas will inevitably it will come to nothing. But week 11, I think they'll be in that phase of they can still make the playoffs. So I think we'll lose this one.
So week 12, I got the Jags on the road. And are you sticking to your loss on this one?
No, I think we'll lose at home and we'll beat them on the road.
Ah, okay. So I had down as you were winning at home but losing on the road.
No,
okay.
sorry, that's the Texans. I said we'll beat on at home.
Right. Okay. So week 13, you host the Commanders.
Yeah, I think this is a really tough one to call because I like what Washington have done, but they are very much dependent on whether Jaden Daniels can stay healthy. If he's there and he's fully fit, they'll win that game, I think. But there's a big caveat. Without Jaden Daniels, I think we would win it. But we'll go with him being healthy and available. I'll say Washington will beat us.
So then week 14, you face a road game in Michigan against the Lions.
Yeah, last time we played in Detroit, I think I'm pretty sure they scored about 50-odd points on us. I don't think it'll be 50-odd points, but I do think we'll lose this game.
So then I've got the Colts next at home. Judging by the last game, I'm guessing you're going to stick to the win.
Yes, yeah, I think we'll be the Colts in that one.
So week 16 is a road game, a place you know very well, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes, and I'm going to be there for this one. So heading over to Vegas, I suspect Mendoza will be starting by this point, and I think we will lose this game.
Okay, so then your final home game of the season and your final ever home game at Nissan Stadium, you are hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I think we'll win this. I think it will be a farewell victory. Well, that's what I'm hoping because I'm also going to be at this game. So, farewell victory at Old Nissan Stadium. Fingers crossed we can get the win there.
I mean, that's going to be some occasion, right? I mean, we had Bills fan David Caproche on last year, Buffalo native, season ticket holder, him talking about the last game at Highmark. It's going to be for you, and all Titans fans are going to be there. It's going to be quite the day.
Yes, it's going to be a strange one because I think even though the stadium, obviously, it's right next door to the old stadium, so we've seen it sort of being built over the last few years, but still can't quite believe it's going to be the last game in a weird way. So I think there'll be some strange feelings, but I think it will be. I'm expecting Pittsburgh will have either already made the playoffs by that point, and I'm not saying they're necessarily be resting players or anything like that, but I think they'll probably be there or thereabouts, and I just think we'll win that game. I'm very fortunate to be there for it. It was as soon as the schedule came out, I knew I wanted to be at that last game, whenever that was going to be. So the fact it's fallen just after New Year is quite nice. So we've got New Year's in Nashville. They're the week before in Vegas as well. So Vegas and Nashville is a nice way to end/start the year.
Wow, yeah, and then I never thought of that. Yeah, of course. Raiders game, 27th of December. That's going to be great. That's a great little trip you've got there, or two trips really when you count the first two games as well. So yeah, if you're sticking, so are you going to stick to your loss at the Texans in Week 18?
Yeah, I think we'll lose that game.
Okay, so that means you are predicting a 6-11 season.
That's positivity for you.
Well, you say that. So far, this is you are down as our joint second least optimistic fan so far of this off season.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know we've got things to fix. I do think like there's still 3 more wins than we had last year. There's a few of those games when you go through them one by one where it is a bit more of a coin flip. So those 6 wins could easily become 9 wins or could easily become 3 wins. It's one of those ones. So I think it's the most important part for me is getting to the end of the season with more progression from Cam Ward, so that going into the following year, we can go and make a run at it, because I really like the young talent we've got. And I think that is giving them the experience of this year will only help them. And then hopefully just fixing some of the other areas that we know that we've got. I mentioned O-line earlier is my biggest concern. There's a few other position groups as well that I want to see some improvements on. As long as we see that, I'll take a 6-win season happily.
Yeah, fair enough. And you can also look back at our previous shows to find out which 2 teams I'm referring to. The 2 other tied with Greg, the 2 other fans who've gone for 6th and 11 season predictions. But that is the end of the show. So, Greg, first of all, a massive thank you for coming on today.
No, always a pleasure. It's always good to chat Titans.
Well, good to have you on, and enjoy your time in America this year. Enjoy your. I'm sure we'll get you on. I'm sure some point during the season, but nevertheless, enjoy the season. Enjoy those first 2 games, and I think you'll see 1 win and 1 loss, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah. Enjoy Malik Willis as well. I'm sure that'll go well for you.
Well, it depends on when we get. If we get the Titans Willis, it's going to be a tough season. But if we get the Packers Willis, then I'm a lot more confident. And what I've seen so far, albeit it's up against our defense in practice, which is never, I think that's our weakest part of our team. So maybe that should be the best thing to judge it by. But he looked confident. He looked comfortable in the pocket.
Yeah, and where he was. I mean, I was at the Titans Green Bay game last year when he started, and I think if you have the right offensive coordinator and the right playbook and the right scheme, you can get success with him. And I think LaFleur did that in Green Bay. I don't know how high his ceiling is, which was always my problem with Malik, if I'm honest. But he was never really given an opportunity in Tennessee. Like, he played half a dozen games. He was like 200 odd snaps, whatever it was. Maybe actually it might be less than that. I think Levis might have had about 200 odd. But anyway, yeah, I think it's I wish him well. I've never had a bad word to say apart from maybe his footballing ability. But he seems a great kid, and wish him well. I hope it works out for him, because yeah, he's not quite had the opportunities he probably should have had, and there is a development issue with quarterbacks in this league, and I think him and Will Levis have been kind of treated quite badly in that. So we'll see how it shakes out. But no, I wish him well. I think he's done well to get himself a starting job. We'll see. It just depends on the rest of the Dolphins roster and what they can muster up for him, I guess.
I can see him having a good season. Same with A-Chain. I think the offense might be quite good, but I think the defense will be so bad. I can see us, scoring 20 points a game, but also conceding about 35, 40 points a game. The secondary really concerns me. But this has been our Titans season preview. I have been, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, and we'll see you guys for our next season preview, our third for last team. We'll see you then. Take care.